Fresh and Buds.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh. You guys can call me Tom, and you guys are all my buds. And I'm joined by a bud of mine this week, Miss Chalice. How you doing? Hey, can I call you Miss Chalice? Chalice? What do you prefer?
Usually I drop the title. Chalice is fine.
Okay, all right. And how are you today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a great episode planned for today. We're gonna talk a little bit about cosplaying. We're gonna touch on some of the news of the past weekend of Starvo being so intense at a lot of these pro quests. It's pretty intense right now in regards to that. But before we get into that, I thought I would start with the crack a pack, and we have a pack of Everfest now. I'm going to go over each of the cards, and I want to ask you, Chalice, if, when you look at the art of that card, is that something you would ever consider cosplaying, or what would go through your mind when you look at the card? So, sound
There's
good?
going to be some interesting ones in here, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. The art I gotta, and we'll get into it, but the art in Flesh and Blood's amazing. And Everfest has some really interesting ones. So, first of all, I'm going to get that up close to the mic because that sound, not the traditional pack crack sound, but we got the paper. But, all right, we're gonna start off right now. We have twin twisters. I'll have to show you in the camera so you can see, so you don't have to look it up. But twin twisters is the one costed ninja attack action, 3 attack, 2 defense. You can choose one. Either it gets, when this hits, your next attack, this combat chain gains +1, or it itself gets +1 and go again. Not the best card. I mean, it's fine, but leg tap seems to be better. But
yes, I remember.
yeah, it has great art. We have this this ninja. She's kind of like basically making tornadoes out of her hands, which is kind of cool. It seems like a cool challenge to kind of get that captured on photography.
Definitely. I'm not afraid of doing some special effects to the best of my ability. I'm sure I could come up with something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Next we have yellow wax on. So another ninja card here. This one's
You already know what I'm going to say.
yeah. Wax on. This is a 0 costed ninja defense reaction. And while Wax On is defending on an attack action card with cost 0, it has +2 and it has a base defensive 2. I guess good in the mirror, but a fun looking card for sure. Now, is this a card you'd ever cosplay? Kind of an old white beard.
I can't see it on me, but
yeah.
I
Let me.
no.
I could see if I can.
Yes.
It's a funny one. I mean, I can't help but think of Wax Off as soon as I see Wax On. Whenever I see the card. But now, so like gender bending cosplays, I know you had put up a poll about doing either Prism or the boogeyman Starvo.
Yeah.
It looks like Prism won out, but I was interested to see what Starvo was going to look like. So, what are your thoughts on gender bending cosplays?
You know what? I've never actually done a gender bent cosplay to my knowledge. No, I haven't. And I thought if I were to do anyone, I think doing Starvo would be great because he's got such a great personality. I think that would come through regardless if I was, doing it with the full-on beard or if I was trying to do like a female variant.
Oh yeah. The personality is busting out of that card for sure. Next is Steadfast. This is the blue one. This is a Guardian Instant.
Yeah.
This is a really cool looking card. I feel like it'd be tough to cosplay, but this is a 3 costed. Prevent the next 4 damage would be dealt to your hero this turn by source of your choice. Kind of good against like dominated stuff, but great art.
This is a great card, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've been seeing some lists with both the blue and the red as good sideboard options. But a little bit tough to cosplay, I bet, with that big purple. I don't know what that is.
Whatever
Kind of
that is,
arcane,
yeah.
yeah, arcane damage. I guess probably the arcane damage, but
Yeah,
um,
true.
yeah. Uh, but next we have Read the Glide Path, which is a ranger
Oh,
action. It's a cool card.
love that
Um,
card.
this is the yellow one. It's a 0 cost non-attack action. Your next arrow attack this turn gains +2. You have opt 1 and go again. Has 2 defense. Now, one of your
Yes,
first cosplays was Azalea. Am I correct?
it was indeed. Yeah, you are
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and I feel like this card slots pretty well into Azalea decks that want to go like really tall.
I run that in my Azalea deck, so I do have a soft spot for that card.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect.
It is. I mean, Rangers in general just look so awesome, and all the art on the Ranger cards, and I could see why it's like a lot of people's favorite hero,
Mm,
especially Azalea. Azalea is like such a soft spot for a lot of people. Unfortunately, not the best hero, but
no,
one day I know it.
one day,
Like
I
just like
believe.
my girl Leviah, I know that one day is like they'll have their day.
Yes.
Next we have another ranger. This is arrow attack. Timidity point. This is the blue one.
Oh, yeah.
1 cost for a 3 attack, 3 defense arrow. When it hits a hero, attacks they control lose and can't gain dominate during their next turn. I think the red one might be a fine sideboard option for Starvo. Um,
This is a really
really,
weird, like creepy artwork. The more I looked at it, I couldn't quite understand what kind of being it was. Do you
oh
know what I mean?
yeah,
If you look closer at like the face, at like the feet are kind of stumpy as well.
yeah. It looks like it's almost make like half tree, half like because
Yeah.
it looks like it has like almost Leviah esque stuff coming
Mm-hmm.
out of his head, but yeah, yeah, cool card. Regardless, I don't know. That one's a little weird for sure. This is a card that I know that a lot of the buds out there have been liking in their Visceri decks against Starvo. This is Reek of Corruption.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the red one. Really cool card. This is initially I was pretty low on it because I thought that Consuming Volition was just a little bit better, but it sounds like in Visceri this is still a great option. But the red one is 2 resources for 4 attack, 3 defense, Runeblade attack action. If you have played or created an aura this turn, Reek of Corruption gains. When this hits a hero, they discard a card. So, just like all the
Yes.
Runeblade cards, lots of purples, a lot of really visceral things happening to um, the people in the art. But this card's pretty sweet. Do you play much Runeblade?
No, I can't say I've ever played any Runebag, but it does look fun. Everyone I know who's played it says it's really fun to play.
You know, I will say that don't even go off to the dark side. Just like all these Runeblade players, and I started on Runeblade. I played a lot of Chain in the beginning, but
Yeah,
it's way too much. You know, they're
don't even
too
go
good.
there.
We like to play the bad heroes and hope they eventually get
But yeah,
good.
we like the underdogs.
Yeah, exactly. Next we have Rotary Ram. This is a mechanologist card. This is
Yeah.
0 cost. This is the yellow one. The next mechanologist attack action card you play this turn gains +2. If you have boosted this turn, put Rotary Ram on the bottom of your deck. Go again. Has 3 defense. Really cool. I'm not traditionally a steampunk fan, but I know the steampunk fans out there love Dash, love mechanologist. Have you considered doing any mechanologist? I know Dash is a very popular one.
Yeah, I had a lot of like Dash fan favorite people come forward and say, please do Dash, please do Dash, do something mechanologist related. So I'm sure whatever I decide to do will be very much appreciated by those diehard fans.
Yeah, I bet the like equipment and armor that you'd have to make for a
Oh
mechanologist card would be
gosh,
so much fun to build, but
it
probably a
would.
real challenge.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that card is actually don't really think that good, but I will
Mm.
say apparently it is good against Bolton. Because
Oh.
I know that a friend of the show, Capolo, will kind of sideboard this in sometimes
Mm.
if he thinks there's going to be a lot of Bolton out there. But we have a foil. Fatigue Shot, another arrow attack. This is the yellow one. This is 1 for 4 attack, 3 defense, Ranger arrow attack. When fatigue shot hits a hero, the base attack of their first attack action card they play during their next turn is halved, rounded up. It's a lot of text for only one small effect, but very
Great
cool.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like the thing about these arrow cards. Like, not particularly powerful on their own, but like the on hits are so strong that you just have to block them. And I will attest to playing against Ice Lexi last night. It was not fun to have to deal with that. But next we have a Majestic Cash Out. This one has a lot of people on the. This is a nice little card. Definitely something that must be coming down the line for maybe PvE. All these merchant cards and like item cards, but the Cash Out is a 0 cost. This is a blue. It's a 0 cost generic action. As an additional cost to play Cash Out, you may destroy any number of weapons, equipment, and or non-token items you control. Create a silver token for each permanent destroyed this way. Go again. I know some people definitely play this in like Genus What You Need, the new merchant hero, in like I guess it's not really that good of a blitz deck, but it's a good UPF deck for sure.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of the merchant stuff? There was a lot of merchant stuff in EVR, and I feel like there's a lot of people that have mixed emotions on it. They think it's cool, but it's like, all right, well, it didn't really supplement like what we're already playing. It's like it seems like it's setting up for stuff down the line.
Yeah, I love the theming of the whole merchant class. I think it's amazing. I just, like you said, I'm looking for the right time to actually utilize it in playing because I can't really see anyone doing it seriously. No offense to the merchant.
Yeah, it's all casual right now, which is fine. I think that's important. But it is interesting. I saw that Silver Palms, when it was like a $50 legendary. And then overnight, I think 2 nights ago, it jumped to like 90 because I think there was a James White interview and he had mentioned PvE is coming. So when that is, we don't know, but it's coming eventually. Now, this last card is a rare. It's in the running for one of my favorite art of the set is Haze Bending. This is the Blue Illusionist Action Aura, 0 cost, once per turn effect. Whenever Haze Bending or another illusionist non-token aura you control is destroyed, create a Spectral Shield token. It defends for 2 and has Spectra. Now, I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Really nice.
Really cool, almost Vincent van Gogh-esque strokes of like paint and color in the background with this really interesting red flowy dress she's wearing. Now, that would be pretty cool to see, I think, as a cosplay. I'm going to be throwing out all these different like ideas for you to do throughout the whole podcast, but
bring it on, I'm ready.
Oh yeah. You'll have a whole list of things. You'll be good for, another year of yeah. But so that's the cracker pack. Let me put the rare and Majestic off into the giveaway pile, which will be start doing the giveaways on the Discord, which is in the link tree. It's called The Buds. If anybody is interested in joining, it's all fun, casual. We talk about competitive stuff. We talk about food and casual stuff too. But let's get to the meat of the show. Now, Chalice, when did card games come into your life? I want to know.
To be completely honest, it's only been a relatively new thing. Like in the past 4 or 5 years, I would say, that when I first met my partner, he had a binder of Pokemon cards that he was showing me, and I thought, oh, what a nice nostalgic veil to talk about Pokemon. But I thought I never actually collected the cards as a kid. So I got to kind of experience that when I was older, when we started opening cards together. I was like, oh, if I did this when I was younger, I'm sure I would have a whole collection by now. So I started off a bit later, doing Pokemon as my first like TCG that I would collect. And then I dabbled in like a bit of Magic, a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! But nothing really stuck in terms of playing. It was more for collecting. like purpose. So we still collect Pokemon cards now. Um, but it was only until recently that we had discovered Flesh and Blood, and that was where I really got into both the collecting and the playing side.
So Flesh and Blood was the first card game you really like tried to
Yeah,
play. Okay.
definitely.
And I mean, I will say once it clicks, and I'm sure you agree, once the gameplay clicks, it really becomes addicting. It's very satisfying to play a game of Flesh and Blood.
Mm.
And uh that is interesting that you had only collected. Now, prior to collecting cards, are you a big gamer in general? Do you like video games? Like, what kind of video games would you say that you had been, I guess, drawn to?
So yeah, I was really into video games. Mostly like the fantasy style, like RPGs would usually be my favorite kind of things to play. They still are now. So that would usually be like my hobby. What I would do with my free time would be playing, mostly on PC.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, well, that makes sense. That Flesh and Blood really kind of drawn
It
you.
does, yeah.
I mean, I
Right up
mean,
my street.
love the fantasy. I mean, it's part of the reason that I mean, I got into Magic initially, got into Flesh and Blood. Big Lord of the Rings fan.
Mm.
It's just the I don't know. It's the best, I guess, is the way
It
to
is.
put it. Now, what kind of formats of Flesh and Blood do you play? Now, I believe you mentioned in other interviews, and I believe it was on Arsenal Pass, that you are a fan of Classic Constructed. You like the 60 card 40 life
I do, yeah.
format.
Yeah, I do prefer the constructed format just because I think it, especially with like playing decks like Azalea, it gives me more of a chance to kind of get in, like warm up. I feel like sometimes with Blitz, you kind of blink and all of a sudden it's gone, especially against some some
Oh
decks. They
yeah.
can very much only take 2 turns maybe, and then that's it. So for those reasons, that's why I prefer constructed. But Blitz is also really fun. I'm not gonna disrespect Blitz at all. I do enjoy it because it was the first format that I played.
Yeah, Blitz is always a great way to kind of get into it. But yeah, I'm definitely on the same side of you. It
Hmm.
feels like Blitz is like it poof and gone. And I'd even mentioned it on Twitter today actually that I think that Blitz should be a
You
best of
did.
three
I
format.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like oh let's play more like shorter games or whatever because especially as we get more cards like I think Benji got like a 1 turn kill
Yes.
out of
Yeah.
EVR and then Kasai's doing Kasai things. So yeah, that's interesting. So in CC, you mentioned Azalea. What other decks are you playing in Classic Constructed?
So I would say I used to. I'm playing much more Azalea now, which is nice. I did start as like my first constructed. I would play original Bravo for probably the majority of my time, and now that um, Starvo is a thing, I kind of stopped playing original Bravo. Although I will say he still is like pretty good. I just feel like a lot less people play him now, which is sad to see.
Yeah, it is. It was a little sad because it did feel like Starvo kind of came in and was like,
Star of the show, he took
yeah,
over.
yeah. And whatever shows. I mean, I guess like showstopper to start the show. I mean, I don't know. I have my opinion on Starvo, and we'll get into that. But actually, we can get into it now. Why not? We'll just.
Okay.
I so I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Hmm.
So over the weekend, there were a lot of pro quests around the world, and I played in one of them, and some buds played in multiple as well. Shout out to Gary, a bud in the Discord, friend of mine, top 2 in Philadelphia on Saturday at Red Caps, playing Viscerai, but lost to Starvo. So Starvo won that one. Starvo won the one that I went to. I looked like there was 18 Starvos that won ProQuest over the weekend, and
Wow.
it's. I mean, I don't like to have knee jerk reactions, but it seems pretty overwhelming. Do you agree?
I mean, yeah, once people see like a deck that's doing really good, it's very common for a lot of people to be like, I'm gonna do that now.
Hmm.
Um, although I do believe it's not necessarily about the deck, it is also about the pilot of the deck.
Hmm.
There are plenty of, Starvers who didn't manage to get through to any higher rankings, and that literally shows you can't just pick something up and expect for it to just win. But I do agree, it is an overwhelming amount of people that are starting to play this deck much more, and I think there are reasons why it's doing so good.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a shame because it did. It feels like to me, like I remember James White had said that every hero is going to get like some stuff in Everfest, and sure, original Bravo got some stuff, but we also got this new Bravo. Everybody's on this new Bravo, so like it kind of feels bad for like the OG Bravo fans, and it also it's very it's frustrating for newer players when they kind of see like this deck is very strong, and there are ways to beat it, but it's very tough. So we will
Mm,
see if they do anything about it. I'm not sure. I think there's a ban announcement in April or their next update or whatever. We will see.
yeah.
But yeah, I just had to get it off my chest. I've been thinking about it because like I lost to a bunch of them, and I was like, oh my god, I hate this deck.
Yeah.
I just want to play bad decks and sneak out wins. But
Yeah.
that being said, do you have any kind of competitive aspirations since you do play Classic Constructed and there's a lot of pro quests going on? I believe there's some callings coming up, and well, I mean here in the States, but abroad as well. I think Krakow and Poland, but I think they just
Yes. Yeah.
announced Leeds is going to have a Battle Harden. I think the same weekend as Indianapolis here in the States. Now, do you plan on playing any of these events?
Hmm. Maybe. You know what? I wouldn't want to say either way. I think because I've only played like one official event.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a draft event, which was really fun. Um, it would be something I would definitely consider. I'm really not a very competitive person when it comes to any kind of games, really. But I think if I was to get into any sort of competitive scene, it would definitely be for this card game, just because I'm feel like not overwhelmingly confident, but I feel like I know what I'm doing to an extent where I feel like I could, stand a chance against the general public to an
Yeah.
extent. So I would like to try and attend, at least maybe one event coming up. Um, it's difficult sometimes with managing my time with trying to make content that is like crafting and like visual, and then spending that same dedicated time trying to learn and practice the card game, because that is something I do have to balance, trying to make like relevant content that people like to see in terms of Flesh and Blood. So like with the new set, I tried to capitalize on like doing some cards which were popular with the Everfest set, while getting in time to practice those new cards. So I do try and give it an equal amount of love either way, but I would really like to take part in this season's competitiveness. It would be fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, it's definitely scratching a lot of competitive itches out there. Now, would you plan to attend any of these events like as a cosplayer? Because I know in Vegas when we had that big Vegas calling, bunch of cosplayers came. It was great.
Yes,
It
yeah.
seems like Ellis is really into it. Is that something you've considered?
Yeah, I do consider it a lot. It would just be picking the right character to go as in terms of popularity wise. So I don't get like pelted with tomatoes or something like, no, boo, why did you show up as Starvo? We don't want to see you. Or practicality wise in terms of what would be the most like what's the right word? Sometimes when I cosplay, I have to consider what is most comfortable and realistic to wear to an event. Because a lot of the time when I take photos, it can look good on camera, but maybe there are things that won't look good in terms of like a 360 aspect, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Or like walking around, kind of enduring the day to day kind of thing. So something like really heavy armor or like really like big like three-dimensional things might not last like a whole event.
Yeah.
Um, so it would definitely be trying to pick the right amount which would look nice for an event and also be able to withstand, the event.
Well, if I can make a suggestion based on what I've
Okay.
seen out of the Flesh and Blood ones you've done. Well, first of all, Levi, excellent. Um, But I actually think the Icelander one was absolutely incredible, and I think that one would
Thank
get
you.
a great response. I don't think you'd be pelted by any tomatoes or anything like that. So, but let's move on to some cosplaying stuff.
Okay.
So, I will admit my knowledge of cosplaying is relatively limited.
Mm.
I mean, I obviously know what it is. I don't know a whole lot about the background. I believe my first memory of ever even hearing about cosplaying was playing, I think it was Pokemon Red or Blue, and I think there's a like an NPC in the game, like you're in the Dark Cave. For all the Pokemon fans out there, I think uh, you go talk to them right before they battle you. They're like, oh yeah, like I'm really into cosplaying. Do you know what cosplaying is? And I was like, as a kid, I was like, I don't know what he
No.
means. So I want you to give me and the listeners a little bit of background on like cosplaying in kind of a general sense.
Mhm.
You know what you know of like where it comes from, why people do it. You know the enjoyment that you get out of it, anything like that.
Sure. So to me, I know a lot of people might interpret cosplay as different. It's quite a personal experience to have. So for me, it is trying to recreate a character from video game, from a TV series, anything like that. Trying to replicate it as accurately as possible to what it would look like if it was in the real world. So a lot of time you might not be able to make something look exactly as it does in its original source in the real world. So it's making some compromises. So a lot of the time, things you might want to take into consideration are like body type, body shape, like special effects, magic. You know, you can't always make something look exactly as it does from its source material. But the most important thing is trying to take the personality, take the whatever characterizes that character and try and bring it to life. So that's kind of like a general kind of feel how I like to take on a cosplay. In a more sort of physical sense, it is taking an outfit, taking like what the hairstyle is, taking the makeup, taking weapons, armor, trying to make them out of whatever material you want to work with. So there's plenty of options. That's what I like about cosplay. You can literally take cardboard, you can take paper, and you can make a full-on armor set out of it. And that's what's so great. You don't have to spend a lot of money trying to replicate like a proper suit of armor or something like that. You can just let your creativity and imagination do whatever you want.
That's interesting. As a younger Chalice, were you uh, big into arts and crafts growing up? You know, it was this something that was kind of just natural. Like you know, you started doing it, and you felt that you know you had done a lot of arts and crafts as a kid, and you started to really enjoy the kind of the technical side, the creative side, the basically making the things. Is that one of your favorite parts, or is that kind of a means to an end?
I would definitely say, looking back, I was very into arts and crafts for the longest time. All sorts of things, you know, like coloring, painting, more digital art when I got a bit older. I've always liked to make things, but I never really thought about cosplaying. It was only when I was around like 18, 19 where I became aware of what cosplay was. And that was through like um, watching videos on YouTube of like conventions, like Comic Con and stuff like that. And they would showcase all these people dressed up. And I was like, wow, that's so awesome. Like, I've never seen this before. It looks like a great time. It was when I really started to consider maybe I could do that. Because you could see like families, like mums, dads, children, you know, like people who don't do it professionally doing it and having fun. And I think that's what spoke to me the most, just seeing how much fun everyone was having doing it.
Yeah, I mean it is fun to kind of get into that. Now, I mean, I guess you'll have to let me know. Is Halloween as big in the UK as it is in the States? Because to me, as a non cosplayer, who I mean, obviously I have you know a lot of hobbies that have a lot of cosplay. Halloween's my one time a year that I would get dressed up. Do you is that something that over across the pond you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we do celebrate it here, but it's less of like a community thing. I feel like a lot of stuff I've seen from the USA, it's like a neighborhood thing where I see like streets of people interacting with each other and going trick or treating.
Hmm.
Here, it's kind of just like if you want to have a get together with friends and have a party, maybe you'll throw on like silly costume or something like that. I don't really see a lot of people trick or treating here in the UK, but well, I do know some people do it though. Um, but surprisingly, I don't really participate in the dressing up aspect at Halloween. I know it sounds crazy, but you know what? It's because I'm doing it not on Halloween a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like you don't want to bring your work home sometimes. I guess it's like it's like, oh, this is my time to relax and then have fun. So that makes sense. That makes total sense. Now, I want to know what your general process when deciding to do a cosplay, whether it's flesh and blood or anything else,
Mhm.
is, and then kind of take me through that and what it takes to really execute it.
Okay, sure. Um, so for starters, it will just be deciding, okay, what is the character I want to do, and then specifying, okay, is it from this particular like concept art, or like outfit variation, or in terms of flesh and blood, the particular card it's based on. Deciding the idea first, and then breaking it down into components of stuff I need to either buy or make myself. So in terms of basic clothing, like top, like leggings, stuff like that, that is stuff I will usually purchase from like charity shops or like Amazon, just because I like to then work on it a bit more. So having
Hmm.
a base is always a good place to start. So for the Azalea cosplay, I kind of simplified into red top, brown leggings, and then build on the next level from that, which is like accessories. So, do they have like any belts, any bags, any jewelry? And depending on the complexity of that, that's something I would then try and find the materials to craft from that. So it could be clay, could be foam, um, could be like any sort of stuff I can shape,
Hmm.
would be the next stage. And then probably the tier up from that would be armor. So pauldrons, gauntlets. That is more like heavy ended crafting that I'll do. So I'll make sure I've got like all the space and materials to do that with as well. Um, and then decide how much stuff I need to alter in terms of color scheme. So paints. Then I'll get like a spray on paint, acrylic paint, and then all of the extra sort of cherry on top kind of things like polish and glaze or like finishing spray. Um, and then it comes to taking the picture. It's okay, what kind of background do I want to have? What kind of lighting should I use? It's a lot of questions that you have to kind of sit down and ask
Hmm.
yourself. And most of the time, I kind of make it up as I go along. I make it sound quite organized, but to be honest, I just kind of get right in there and think, what do I need? Let's just get it all together, and we'll make it up from from there.
I find that that's how the creative process normally works
Yeah.
for creative types. Anyway, I mean, I know when I kind of I sent you an outline for this podcast. When I sit down to
Mhm.
write the outline, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just like, oh, this is what I'd ask, and then just
It's
type it
good to
out.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's just like that's how it has to be like it's it's productivity through chaos. I think is a good way
Hmm.
to
It's
put
the
it.
best way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before Flesh and Blood, what were the types of cosplays you were doing?
So let me see. I think it was mostly like anime themed cosplays. So I did a lot of characters from the anime One Piece, which is what I'm currently watching at the moment. There was a lot of characters, so I had a lot of material to work with. And some other shows like anime in between that, some video game things as well. But it would just be mostly seeing what was being talked about, what was popular at the time, um, to see what people like to see. Because it's all well and good doing things that you love, like characters you like, shows you like. Um, but I would often find engagement and trying to get people to see my content would be a lot more difficult with more niche things.
Hmm.
And as much as I like certain characters or certain shows, I would put a lot of effort into doing something, and then I felt like the stuff I would get from the general like feedback wouldn't be as greater as doing something popular, because I always like to hear what people have to say, whether it's good,
Hmm.
bad, or constructive. So if I felt like I put a lot of effort into something and I wanted to see what people had to say and I didn't get it back because it wasn't a very well-known topic, I would feel like, where do I go from here? How can I improve? So that's when I started to think, what's trending at the moment? What is something I like and other people like at the same time? And I felt like with Flesh and Blood, that was something that happened to like kill two birds with one stone. It was an up and coming TCG, and I happened to really like it at the time. And that's where the community really matters in terms of what's attached to a franchise, because you could be cosplaying, One Piece, which is the number one like most sold manga series, but maybe the community isn't as outspoken as another community would be. So in terms of my personal like growth, it wouldn't have been as beneficial as doing something where the communities are really tight knit and like to interact and share ideas together.
Yeah, I would say that that is kind of a benefit of the Flesh and Blood community, that it's very small compared
Mm.
to other TCGs right now, but we're also passionate about it, and we're itching to talk to and interact about it in general. So, excuse me. So we see any kind of cosplay, any kind of content, we kind of really just like, oh my god! So it's more and more. There's not enough for us right now. So it was really perfect, and obviously there has to be quality too, which
Yeah,
you have presented for the community, and
thank you.
and definitely have endeared yourself to the community, and it is it and I gotta say, you picked a great first one. You picked Azalea as your first Flesh and Blood cosplay. The Azalea fans are I guess downtrodden,
Oh yeah,
but they are passionate, and
yeah.
it was awesome. So tell me a little bit about kind of what I mean. We know that Azalea is one of your favorites. Was that just
Mm.
it? It was Azalea was one of your favorites, and when did you decide? Well, I'm just going to do this cosplay.
You know what? It's not a really long story. Honestly, it was just I was looking down at my deck because I just started to try out Azalea after playing Adult Bravo, and I was staring at like the young hero art, and I was like, at the time I just like cut my hair because my hair used to be a bit longer than this, and my partner saw me staring at the card, and he was just like, "Oh, you kind of look like Azalea now that you cut your hair." And I was like, "Huh." And I kind of stared at the card. I was like, you know what? I should try and cosplay her because the young Azalea artwork is relatively simple to an extent. It's not like the adult variants, which are
Mm-hmm.
very complex. And I thought, you know what, that'd be something fun. I'm playing this card game at the moment. It's nice to see more about it. I think maybe if I could try and do a cosplay and try and interact more with the Flesh and Blood community, maybe that'd be fun. And it was literally just as simple as that. It wasn't really a very well thought out thing. It's a
well,
spur of the moment.
well, I mean, that's usually the best. I find sometimes, like, you
Yeah.
just do it, and the response was huge. The
Oh
the
yeah.
the Flesh and Blood community really loved it. I know I did.
No.
And you find that the community as a whole has been good, and like, do you feel embraced by the community now that you've
Oh yeah.
done multiple great cosplays at this point?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking after I saw the response that I got, because I had uploaded this picture, and then 2 days had gone by, and I wasn't really thinking much of it. I just thought, what else should I do next? And that's when all of a sudden, after these couple of days had passed, that's when it like shot out. My phone was like, all the notifications were like spamming on my phone. I was like, what is going on? My goodness me. And I had all these messages from all these content creators and Flesh and Blood fans who were just like, this is so cool. Like, you should do more. Like, I'm really happy to see this. And I just thought, wow, I haven't got a response like this. It was so wholesome. and positive that I just thought, what a nice group of people. I wonder, if this is just like a one-off thing, but let's keep going with it. And I did, and the reception just, was so much better, and it just kept growing. And I just thought I found a group of people who just, I don't know, just get it, and
Oh
that was a great feeling.
yeah, yeah. I mean that has been the story of the Flesh and Blood community. I think overall, and
Hmm.
it is uh, heartwarming. I guess is a good
Yeah,
way to put it. That it even. I mean, everybody seems to be welcomed. So, and that's important, I think, and that's important going forward for the game and for everybody involved. So, uh, so you've done Azalea, then you did Icelander, like right after she was spoiled, which was awesome. Icelander was such a great, and you did like what did your eyes right in that
yeah.
one, or what did you do for your eyes in that?
So I had these color contacts, which were kind of like a white mesh effect over the like entire like iris and pupil. So you can't really see out those very well, by the way. It was quite tricky trying to take a picture and then look at the camera and be like, did I get it? I can't see what it looks like. So I had put those in because I felt like my eyes are quite dark naturally. So trying to edit my eyes normally would have been a little bit difficult. So I thought if I got like a nice white base to work off, that'll look quite good. And then in post, I kind of made it a bit more blue hued because
Mhm.
that's kind of the cold theme of Icelander. So that's what I'd done. But like I said, it was so difficult when you're wearing color contacts because it
Oh
kind of obscures your vision.
yeah.
So I had to like check the camera and I was like, is it in focus? I can't even tell. We'll just go with it.
And it looked great. It was awesome. Now
Thank you.
after that, well, actually, I don't know if I have it flipped, but you did Icelander. Did you do Levi after
Yes.
Icelander? So Levi is my favorite hero. You should know.
Yeah.
Um, I did. I mean, when I saw that, I had people tagging me and sending it to
I
me, and I was
saw,
like,
yeah.
I was like, I've seen it. Don't worry, I saw it all right. It was awesome.
Thank
And
you.
part of me, I love that you had to reassure people that the rabbit wasn't brutally murdered or anything like
Yeah,
that. But it was awesome.
it was fun.
Levia is much like Azalea, not very good, but
Hmm.
a lot of people are very passionate, myself included, about that hero. Uh, would you say Levia had a large response compared to the other two? I mean, obviously Azalea was huge because it was the first one.
Yeah. I think without like looking at any sort of statistics or anything like that, I feel like it was because I had a lot more people coming to see my stuff, and I
Hmm.
felt like it just kept the ball had kept rolling and getting bigger and bigger. So with the third like cosplay I did, I felt like a lot more people were waiting in anticipation. So I felt like the response from that was really good.
Yeah, it was excellent. I don't know if you've looked at the adult version of Levia. That one might be a little
Have.
bit difficult.
Oh God.
Yeah, with all
Yeah.
the
I have
tentacles
a
and
lot of
stuff.
people, it seems to be like a running joke now. "Oh, I can't wait to see you do the adult
Uh,
one." And I'm like, I don't expect it. It'll be
yeah,
tough.
well, maybe we'll get like a GoFundMe going for that one. But now I do want to talk about Crown of Reflection. So
Oh,
I
yes.
believe you posted about when this card was spoiled. You're like, oh, I got to do this, right? You kind of posted about that, and like as soon as I saw that, I was like, how is she gonna pull this off? I was like, that seems so crazy because for those of you who don't know, Crown of Reflection, it's an illusionist headpiece. Uh, like she's half in the water, like her head's just coming out. So I want to know how the photo shoot went on that one because
Hmm.
you're coming out of a bathtub, right?
Yeah. So I had first joked about it when I saw the art of the card. I was like, "This is so beautiful." I couldn't stop looking at it. And there was this like little voice in my head which was like, "You should try and do that." And I was like, "Don't be ridiculous. Like it's crazy." And then I made a joke being like, "Haha, I'm gonna get in the bath and do it." And everyone was like, "Yeah." And I thought, "Oh no, what have I done?" Like I've kind of joked about it, now I have to do it. But in my head I was like, "You know what? It's not too far out of the realm of, impossibility. She's just in some water.
Yeah.
How can I do that? I'll fill up the bath, and then I'll just get in the bath, and then no one will know that I'm in the bath, so to speak, if they were to just look at the end result. So I was like, okay, I've committed to this now. Let's do it. So it had given me a really good practice of making like a crown out of foam. Like crafting foam is the material I used for that. So that was a really good experience practicing making it. It was crazy just to look at because I was like, I've never really tried to make anything like this before. So I kind of made it up as I go along, as I do a lot of things. I was like, this kind of looks like it. I feel like if I go too much into detail, I'll start to get really critical about it. But I was like, this looks good enough. And then I thought, okay, the hardest part is recreating the actual photo. So, oh God, I had got these waterproof submergible like LED lights because that whole artwork is kind of bathed in this nice sort of bluey greeny like underlit glow, and I thought there's no way I can do that in editing. I'll have to get proper lighting. So I'd got these submergible lights and I put them in the bottom of the bathtub. And I was like, this looks really cool. Like, I'm gonna use these like for my everyday average bath. It just feels funky. And then I had set the camera up in the bathroom to try and get the same angle. And then I went to feel the bath water, and I was like, oh my God, it's completely cold.
Oh no.
And I was like, I just stood there for a second, and I was like, what should I do? Like, because I explained this before, I have to preheat my hot water. I don't know if that's a thing in the USA, but
Some places.
yeah.
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 Not everywhere.
Yeah, so I thought I had obviously had enough for it to be a nice tolerable temperature, but clearly I hadn't. And any normal person probably would have been like, you know what, we'll wait a bit longer to heat up the water. But I decided, I've already got the water here. I don't want to waste it. We've already got all the lighting and the photography set up. I'll just get in. So trying to acclimatize to the water was difficult. I'm not very good with cold water, so I
Oh.
had to gradually sort of get warmed up, so to speak. And then the hardest part was, okay, the water level is kind of sitting just above on her nose, so I'm gonna have to really sort of dunk my head in without getting the crown wet. Because I hadn't even tested if the crown was going to be waterproof.
Oh
I wasn't
no.
expecting, to get it wet. So I thought, okay, let's just do it. So I had to, oh God, have a nice cold dunk in the water.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I had set the camera to like timer mode to take a burst of like 5 shots. So while I could submerge my face under the water, it was kind of sitting just on my nose, so I was holding my breath essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take, a flash of 5 photos, and then I would check, trying to get everything as accurate as possible is something I like to do. So the exact hand placement, the exact angle of the face, where the crown is kind of sitting. And I was like, I had to keep taking it and taking it. I was like, I don't know if I've got it yet, because I was so unsure. I really wanted to make it look as accurate as possible while looking realistic in real life. So after like, I don't know, like 35 to 40 pictures, I would say I had got it. And I could see gradually when I went to the beginning of the camera roll, you could see my face gradually getting lower and lower and lower because I didn't want to get in the water. And you could see eventually I was like, screw it, I've got to get this shot. So I did eventually feel like I got the closest possible one.
Oh yeah, and I'm actually looking at it right now. It's kind of it's funny. Your eyes look very focused and intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe like the cold water was just like
Now
setting you in
know.
like gamer mode, and you're like, I'm doing it. Like take these
Yeah.
pictures. But honestly, I gotta say, super impressed. When I
Thank you.
initially saw that you were gonna do that one, I was like, like, there's no way. But it looks incredible, and honestly, it might be my favorite so far.
Wow,
Um,
thank you.
no problem. So, you've done these now. I think after Azalea, LSS sent you a care package,
Yeah.
which is awesome. It must really feel great to kind of get that sort of validation from like the actual source material that you're doing this. How did it feel when they kind of reached out and gave you that?
I really couldn't believe it because I've never had this kind of interaction with like a game company or of any sort before. So seeing their message to me being like, "Oh, we loved your cosplay. We want to send you something." I was like, "Don't do that. Why do you want to do that?" I was just alarmed at first. I was like, "My goodness me." I'm like, I don't know why you would do that. It's so generous. I was honestly shocked. And I had no idea what it was going to be. So I was very excited to think about what they could possibly be sending me. And in true fashion, it was like an Azalea themed
Oh yeah.
package. And I thought, that's so nice. What a nice, like, dedicated gift to send me based on the cosplay I'd done of Azalea. So I still use that playmat. It's the first playmat I'd ever got as well. So what a
Oh
special
yeah.
gift to have.
That's really awesome. It was really cool to see too, because like it companies don't have to do that because you did
No.
that just because
Yeah,
you wanted to, and it's
exactly.
nice to be recognized. Now, so you do some, this is the kind of in conjunction with LSS kind of being cool, right? So
Mm.
you do some 18 plus content, in conjunction with your other like safer work cosplays that you do. Now, some card game companies who will not be named have historically kind of been a little anti 18 plus content when it comes to having like creators in their programs,
Hmm.
and kind of being associated with them. Even if like the 18 plus content is kind of separate from the card game specific things, which is, in my opinion, pretty ridiculous. But I was hoping to get your thoughts on this, because it
Yeah.
seems like LSS has seemed to do a pretty great job with accepting all kinds of creators, despite anything.
That's true. Yeah. Um, well, it is a controversial topic, and I don't know why it needs to be
Hmm.
completely honest. Um, that's just my opinion. So what I do usually with any of my cosplay like sets is I will take, the pictures I intended to take, which is being the character, replicating the art, whatever.
Hmm.
And then I have like a subscription based platform where I encourage people, if you want to see extra pictures, um, and you want to support me at the same time, that's the best way of doing it. I find like that's a good incentive. But my intention with doing those photos is to still be in character, to still be replicating the cosplay. And just to be like completely honest, they're not like full on explicit photos. It's just
Hmm.
like it's like how do I best describe it? Like boudoir, like pin-up, tasteful kind of
Yeah.
still in style, um, like of the cosplay. And that's just like an extra like thing I do. It's not what I need to do. It's just something I like to have as like a little reward tier for people who want to support me financially, which is really generous for people to do. But I understand, obviously, the connotations around that, having to label myself with an SFW, because that's just something I have
Hmm.
to do. I don't want people to get in a situation where they didn't understand what they were clicking on. Um, but yeah, you are right. It is tricky for some companies for their own reputation to not associate with people who might do that, no matter what levels of explicitity they go into. Um, but for me, it's not like a make or break thing. Um,
Yeah.
if I was ever offered to do some sort of deal with a company where they're like, you can't be doing this for the contract, it wouldn't be a make or break thing for me. It's just something I'm doing at the moment. It doesn't like define my work or who I am as a person. It's just something I do as my hobby. But I do understand that when I had posted that Azalea cosplay, the first thing I did, literally like the next post I had was something, suggestive, and it would
Yeah.
have taken like 2 seconds for a game company to just scroll down and be like, okay, I kind of understand what this content creator does, and I feel like because LSS did that, understood who I was in terms of content wise, and still went ahead with making that contact with me, shows me that in their head, it doesn't matter to the extent that they think it is something controversial, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and I don't think it should be controversial.
No.
At least I personally, and and in terms of you're a content creator. It is content, and you deserve
Mm.
to get, you should deserve to get financial. I mean, you dunked yourself in cold water for, however long. I mean, it is something.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like, I just talking to a microphone for an hour. It's like, it's pretty easy. I was going to talk about Flesh and Blood anyway, but you're jumping in cold water. So yeah, I just wanted to get your take on it because, it is another Magic company, and it was like a controversy. I don't know, however many years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
But it was interesting. And that was
Sure.
kind of the first thing I thought of when I saw that they sent you a care package, because I was like, okay, Ellis is cool with this, and
Mhm.
that's nice to see. So,
It
um,
is, yeah.
yeah. So, what Flesh and Blood cosplays are on the horizon for you?
So after I did my poll, it looks like I will be doing the full Prism in her adult kind of form cosplay, which I haven't started preparing anything for that at the moment. I'm kind of just like, oh, where do I start? Because that is going to be like a really, really big one, because all of the adult like forms of the heroes are quite detailed on a
Hmm.
larger scale. So yeah, I'm just gonna start preparing stuff I need and kind of take my time with it. I think I've said that before. I really want to prioritize quality for my next cosplay. So I really want to make sure everything, is well crafted and maybe, con appropriate in terms of like functionality. You never
Oh yeah.
know. So I think prioritizing that would be good, because sometimes I do take some shortcuts when you're making something that's going to be intended just for photos only.
Hmm.
You kind of um, like don't prioritize stuff that might not be seen like on the back and stuff like that. And you think if I were just to turn around a little bit, someone might see I haven't like painted the back or something. But this I want to really, yeah, go all out on.
Yeah, this is a big one. People love Prism.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
especially at the
not
moment.
a huge fan of playing against Prism or playing the deck, but I can appreciate that the art is excellent. You're
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
gonna knock it out of the park. We're all very excited to see it. Now,
Thank
can
you.
can I make an official Fresh and Buds request for a cosplay?
Okay,
Yeah, no,
okay.
nothing crazy, nothing crazy. So I saw you did a headpiece, and there's a card
Oh
right
yeah.
now. It's very popular. Crown of Seeds.
Oh yes.
Yeah, which is such a cool, like, it's one of my favorite pieces of art um in the game. And
Mm.
just kind of like, that kind of like laying there with the really intense, like leafy kind of like hair kind of thing going on. It's
Yeah.
it's it's really incredible. I think you'd probably knock that one out of the park. And then another kind of like full body one would be Exude Confidence. This is from
Oh yeah.
Monarch, which it's just got this, badass like warrior lady. I just really want to see the giant scythe swords that she's carrying. I want to see how you make those. I think that would
That's a
be,
beautiful card. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, really cool, really iconic. Like just on like art everywhere for Flesh and Blood. I think those would be two really good ones. Just gonna put it out there. No pressure, but you have all of my listeners going to be bugging you now. No, I'm kidding. Um,
You know what? I will definitely consider. I especially do like Exude Confidence. It's a really pretty card. I do run it, so I do get to look at it a lot.
mhm.
So if I do, I will certainly credit you
Oh
as
yeah.
inspiration.
Oh, please, please do. So, thank you for coming on. Yeah, it's been so nice chatting with you, and kind of getting a different perspective on like different content in Flesh and Blood in general. I'd really like you to kind of plug all of your things that you want to plug. And I'll be sure to put all of that in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been really fun. If you want to find my stuff, I'm most active on Twitter at Miss_Chalice. I also post on Instagram as well with the same handle.
Awesome, awesome. And you can find everything for me at FreshBudsPod on Twitter. You can email the show freshbudspod@gmail.com. The show is available on YouTube. I do some other stuff on YouTube, and it's also available on all audio platforms. It's primarily an audio podcast, but Yeah, it's been great. Now, I always like to close out the show, Chalice, just talking a little bit about food. Usually,
Hell
kind
yeah.
of something, some kind of dish that maybe you are really passionate about. You like to eat. Maybe something that you get locally to you. So yeah, please share
Awesome.
some food.
I'm always happy to talk about food. I think probably what I would call my signature dish is a Korean hot pot. You'd
Ooh.
get a big, like, big dish, big saucepan, put some, like, instant noodles in there, put some, like, shiitake mushrooms, put some, like, spam, put some egg, like, crack an egg in there, and then mix it all with, like, spicy hot broth sauce. And then you just help yourself. It's a nice social dish to have everyone have some. Yeah, definitely my favorite thing.
Oh yeah, that sounds so good. I've been to one hot pot place and it was pretty incredible. And it was actually right before COVID started. So like
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to go back." And then
Nope.
like, hot pot was not, it's in the restaurant version is not as popular post
Yeah.
COVID, but yeah, I think they're opening up now, at least here in the States. Not sure about everywhere else, but now I am very hungry, and I will be eating dinner after this. And thank you again, Chalice. And everybody, please have a good week.